بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. I would like to welcome all of you. Today, September 20th, 2020, this is Dr. Samir Hamad, and this is the graduate course or a class for Management 512, 512, which is Leadership and Organizational Behavior. Today, we'll be talking about Chapter 6, Work-Related Attitudes. Now, what do you mean by attitude? This is an important chapter. Attitudes is a combination of feelings. This one, smaller pen. Attitudes is a combination of feelings, beliefs, behavior that determine our attitude toward object and or person or institutions. Therefore, attitude is combination of our feelings, beliefs, behavior that determine how do we feel about objects, person, or institution, for example, our companies. Now, how does attitudes work and what are the components of the attitudes? Again, components of attitudes, okay, is, again, this is attitude. We have three components. First one is evaluative. Second one is behavioral. And third one is cognitive. Cognitive component. These determine our attitudes, again, toward objects and about person and about institution or organization. Evaluative means how you feel. Cognitive means what you believe in. And behavioral means how you predisposed to act. Therefore, these are the three components are evaluative, behavioral, and cognitive. Behavioral, in parentheses, feeling. Evaluative, feelings. Behavioral, predisposed. And cognitive is belief. This is the attitude component as we just put them. Evaluative component, how you feel. Cognitive component, what you believe. And behavioral component, how you are predisposed to act. How are you going to act? And this is the attitudes toward objects, person, or institutions, or institution. Okay. Now, the work-related attitudes, which is attitudes related to any of work or work setting. As we said or discussed, there are three essential components of attitudes: evaluative components, if we like or dislike a person, item, or event. Let's assume or take an example like boss. I like him or I don't like him. Cognitive component, the thing we believe about object, if it is true or not. For example, my boss is lazy. Behavioral component, predisposition to behave in a way consistent with my belief or with our belief and feelings about person, object, or event. For example, I try to avoid my boss. Now, this type of attitude, there is a very dangerous type, which is a prejudice or a prejudice and discrimination. It's a negative attitudes and behavior toward others. How does this prejudice work? Okay. Also, prejudice we have first to know what is it. We have to define what do we mean by that. And there is a stereotype about prejudice that confirm what we believe in, or we think about it even though it might not be necessarily true. And also what affect the prejudice is organizational demography. This we have to be careful because it could be, the prejudice could be a discrimination. Discrimination against other. Okay. Now, prejudice definition, organizational demography, and stereotype. Definition is a prejudice. We define it as negative attitudes toward a member of a group based on age, race, ethnicity, or sex orientation. Again, prejudice defined as negative attitude toward a member of a specific group based solely on the fact that they are member of those group. Again, based on age, race, ethnicity, or sexual orientation. Challenges of organizational demography. Now, organizational demography defined as the nature of the composition of workforce with respect to various characteristics such as age, gender, and ethnicity make up. You have so many people from different countries work in Saudi Arabia. There are so many people from different ethnicity and background work in the United States, okay? Saudi Arabia considered to be one of the countries that has the largest number of different nationalities that work here in Saudi Arabia. Therefore, you have to be careful when we work with those guys, not to discriminate against them because of their background or ethnic background or because of and other characteristic of this demographical makeup. Autonomy of prejudice, some fundamental distinction is the stereotype. What does the stereotype? It believes that an individual possesses certain characteristics because they are from that group. Stereotype. If you have a person from certain either country or ethnic background or certain group, you make generalization that each one who comes from that country has this characteristic. Okay, this is what we mean by stereotype. Okay, stereotype believes that individuals possess certain characteristics because they are from that group. Discrimination is consistent with prejudice, act of treating someone negatively because he belonged to that group. Everyone can be a victim of prejudice and discrimination. Prejudice based on organization, prejudice based on age, so many examples in the United States. Prejudice or bridging the communication gap at work. How? By discussing about important events that influence life and don't make assumptions about different ages. And instead of ignoring age differences, discuss them. Prejudice versus discrimination. This is an example. Prejudicial attitudes or prejudicial attitudes. Belief, negative stereotype. Group X is lazy from certain country or certain culture, okay? Evaluating judgment. Negative feeling, I dislike lazy people. Behavioral predisposition, negative inclination, which is disinterested in hiring member of group X. This would result into reject behavior. And this is discrimination. I will not or do not hire member of group X. I was working as a consultant for several companies here in Saudi Arabia throughout my life and experience. I remember one of the businessmen, old type, old mentality. He said, I'll never, ever hire a person from this particular country. Why? Because of the stereotype. And this is prejudice. Okay? So we have to be careful not to generalize. Okay. Basis for prejudice. Prejudice could be because of age, physical education, gender, sexual orientation, race, and national origin, and religion. Okay? Prejudice-based physical condition. 41 million Americans with disabilities. 13.6 million at working age between 16 to 64 years. Only few have job. Prejudiced against women. Women occupy low-level positions. The women earn 77.5 cents for every dollar earned by men in the United States. According to Fortune magazine, 1,000 companies CEOs in 2008, only 24 women, and in 2009, 28 women only CEOs. Prejudice on sexual orientation. Sex role stereotypes, which is narrow-minded beliefs about the quality of women and men and the kind of task for which each is most appropriate for. We always have that sex role stereotype. We think certain jobs fits for men, doesn't fit for women, and this is not correct. For that reason, we have something called glass ceiling. Glass ceiling is invisible barriers that keep women from advancing as fast as men in some fields. Sexual orientation, it's also part of the prejudice that's taking place in United States and other countries as well. Prejudice based on race and national origins. USA is considered to be a melting pot of different nationalities, yet prejudice is still there. Minorities are victim of the prejudice. Prejudice based on religion. Although freedom of religion is the law, and this is Civil Rights Act of 1964, but other religions in the United States felt they are unwelcome and unwanted. Therefore, we have something called religious intolerance, which is action taken by government or by legislators, action taken against person or groups based on their faith or discrimination against faith. Strategies for overcoming workplace prejudice, which is managing diverse workforce. There are affirmative action, myth versus facts. throughout the years, there is myths about the ineffectiveness of affirmative action programs have become popular. However, as summarized here, these don't square with the facts. For example, myth: affirmative action program reduce the self-esteem of women and racial minorities. In fact, the opposite is true. By providing women and minorities groups members opportunities to succeed, their self-esteem actually increase. Another myth: affirmative action plans bring unqualified people into the workplace. Fact: affirmative action programs specify that only qualified women and minorities group members be hired. Again, myth: the public no longer support affirmative action programs. Fact: this is overstated. 80% of Americans currently believe that some sort of affirmative action is a good idea. Therefore, these are just differences between myth and facts. Okay. Now, we'll go back into strategies for overcoming workplace prejudice. Managing diversity. Diversity is very, very important. Saudi Arabia is doing a good job in that regard in diversity. In the United States, it's one thing to identify prejudiced attitudes and another thing to eliminate it. Two things has to be taken into in that regards. Affirmative action. Affirmative action or laws, and this is derived again from the Civil Rights Acts of 1960, legislations designed to give employment opportunities to groups that historically have been underrepresented in the workforce, such as women, minorities. Some confusions arise over the years in the United States. To clear that, they have what we call non-preferential affirmative action, which is effort to get companies to conduct ongoing conscious appraisal of their rule and procedure, and to eliminate those that excludes women and minorities without sufficient justification. Therefore, you could be held by law if you had such a discrimination. Preferential affirmative action, which is the practice of hiring women and minorities in proportion to their representation in the population. We have similar thing in Saudization in Saudi Arabia. They give you percentages, okay, in the Ministry of Workforce. Now, diversity management orientation program. Diversity management program. Awareness-based diversity training, along with the skills-based diversity training, This will affect to increase knowledge, awareness, and sensitivity, challenge existing assumptions, eliminate stereotypes. And this will result into develop a new diversity skill and strengthen current diversity skills. This is still affected by the training, skill-based diversity training. Now, both situations will result into improved quality of interaction with people from diverse groups. And eventually, the levels of moral productivity and creativities are raised. And this will result into organization competitive position is enhanced. Therefore, this is the diversity management program. Now, diversity again management program is a program in which employees are taught to celebrate the differences between people and in which organization creates supportive work environment for women and minorities. Part of that, we have something called what? The orientation. Examples, Lockheed and KFUPM. I took my co-op training in Lockheed Aircraft and Services in California. It was arranged by College of Business or College of Industrial Management. I went over there, and there at that time, the company Lockheed were sending staff to Saudi Arabia, and we were involved in this orientation program. We have to explain for the America what is the Saudi culture like before they come, so that they will not have any surprises. That's an example. Second example, KFUPM, whenever we have expatriates or somebody from foreign countries come as a faculty, they choose some of the faculty member to help them get acquainted and to know the culture. And they come to me or some other faculty, and this is a new faculty, we want you just to be with him for the coming week or two and help him just understand the culture. These are examples of what we call orientation. Okay, and also we have inclusions, making people feel valued as worthwhile member of the organization. Now, the business case for diversity, that diversity is very important for organization. Diversity is a strength. At one point of time, Zamel group of companies, they had a big sign or ad. They said, diversity is a strength. So this reflects the philosophy of the organization that they believe in diversity. And this is something very good. Because if you put people from all over the country, you bring different people who with a big think tank. And this will always have positive effect on the business, on the work, on the company. For diversity is always is a strength. Now, diversity management, what are companies doing? Four things. They actively conduct diversity training, which is now in the United States, for instance, it's very popular because it's a value, which is diversity management. And this company, and in the United States, for instance, that you have some radio station, I don't know about TV stations in California and Florida that are all Hispanic or in Spanish language. Saudi Arabia, not Saudi Arabia, the Gulf countries also, they have broadcast in Arabic and English and in Urdu because of the different workforce. Very interesting, very interesting. Okay. Now, conduct diversity training within the company, cross-culture understanding, intercultural communication, facilitation skills, flexibility, and adaptability. Use leader to send a strong message about diversity. Put leaders from other culture. They are good. Sorry. And for that, we have something called affinity group, which is information collection of individuals who share a common identity with respect to factors such as race, ethnicity, and sexual preference. I remember one time I was going, and when I arrived Denver airport, the person who took me from the terminal, he was a bus driver, from one terminal to the other, he was from Sudan. And he said, yes. And I asked him, started talking in Arabic. He said, I told him, how come you work? He said, yeah, they encourage government and non-government and the private that if you hire people from diversity or diversified background, even though he's American or minority, but they will be getting encouraged, and they will be getting some privileges because they encourage diversity. It's very interesting. They require also suppliers to promote diversity. And we have this African Americans, we have Asian Indian American, we have Asian Pacific American, we have Hispanic American, we have disabilities, veteran, and woman. And you will find this especially so obvious whenever you go to resorts all over the world and hotels. You will find people from different background and from different culture. Why? Because people who will come to those hotels or resorts are anyway from different culture. So you will find that very, very noticeable when you go. You will find that also in the United States in the government organization and non-government and transportation. You will find that also so obvious in United Kingdom as well. Make diversity a top priority. Use ongoing diverse team. Create reporting relationship that emphasize diversity. Establish accountability. For example, at IBM, you have to show diversity program to be promoted in your position as a manager. Now, diversity guidelines: actively pursue the best people, make sure people are accepted and fit in, educate everyone, focus on differences, ranges between people. I'd avoid treating someone from certain group as a special. Provide total managerial support. Assess process and progress. Pay attention to details. Plan for the future. We'll talk now about job satisfaction. Job satisfaction is positive or negative attitudes held by individuals toward their jobs. One of the famous or well-known motivation theory is the two-factor theory introduced by psychologist Frederick Heisenberg. Now, it used to be, before Heisenberg came, it used to be that people are satisfied or not satisfied. Or not satisfied. This is Heisenberg. Two-factor theory. Heisenberg came and he said the satisfaction could be high and low, and dissatisfaction could be high and low. There is no such a person who is satisfied or not satisfied. It's further than that, high, low, and dissatisfaction also high and low. This is the essence of the Heisenberg two-factor theory. Now, what do you mean by these factors? As we said, job satisfaction could be low or high. And the thing that affect your job satisfaction, we call them motivators, such as promotion, opportunities, opportunities for personal growth, recognition, responsibility, and achievement. These are, we call them motivators that affect the job satisfaction. Job dissatisfaction, we have high and low, and the factors that affect the job dissatisfaction, we call them hygiene factor, such as quality of supervision, how good your supervisor are, the pay, money you get, company policies, physical working condition, relationship with others, and job security. Again, hygiene factors affect the job dissatisfaction, such as the quality of supervisions, pay, company policies, physical working conditions, related or relation with others, and job security. The nature of job satisfaction, fundamental issues. In the USA, job satisfaction at lower level in the last 2 decades means or the average of satisfaction 61.1 in 1987, and in 2009 45.3. Who's most and least in job satisfied? In a study, they found that waiters and roofers, they are 21 to 26% satisfaction. These are the least satisfied. And the most satisfied, between 60 to 80%, are physical therapist and firefighter. Now, job satisfaction disposition model. Okay, what do you mean by the disposition model? Is job satisfaction is relatively stable disposition of individual characteristics Stay with people through the situation. For example, some people always satisfied and like their job no matter what happened. Job, and this is the job dispositional theory, that depending on the job satisfaction experience, and this is for an instance yesterday, today, and tomorrow. We have people with, in the upper and the top, people with dispositions toward high job satisfaction, and in the blue down, these are, they have low, people with disposition toward the low job dissatisfaction. Now, this model says some people consistently experienced more job satisfaction than others over time, regardless of what they do. You will notice and you will find some people in your organization, no matter what happened, they are satisfied. They like their job, even though it's become difficult or challenging. They are satisfied because they are enjoying what they do. On the other hand, you will find the kind of people that no matter how nice or good or job, their attitudes, they are always dissatisfied. And you will always have these two types. Can you tell? Can you distinguish? Yes, you can. Some people always, brag about it. They always complain, and some people, oh, nice. But it is very nice. This is what we mean by dispositional model. Some people, no matter what happened, they are all satisfied. Some people, no matter what happened, they are dissatisfied. Very interesting. Okay, and therefore, and we have also what we call the job satisfaction. We just discussed the job satisfaction. We just discussed the dispositional model for job satisfaction, but this is the job satisfaction value theory. There are some genetic factors, something in your genes, okay? Several aspects of the big five dimensions that we discuss of personality, example, emotional stability, agreeableness, extraversion, and positive affectivity or negative affectivity. Okay, these are expressed the job satisfaction. Again, some people are no matter what are satisfied, and some people no matter what are not dissatisfied. Okay, the value theory, it is genetic, again, factor appears to influence the job satisfaction, but those effects are indirect. Maybe the way you raised up, the way they grow up, the way you came from, just so many factors, okay? And we have also what we call value theory of job satisfaction, which is the theory suggests that job satisfaction depends on the match between the outcome value of a person and his perception about it. Now, we have also something called social information processing model. Social information processing model, which is adapt others' attitude and behavior based on others' cues. In other words, people adapt attitudes and behavior in keeping with the cues provided by others. You will find some people always encourage you to be cheerful, to be having positive attitude, and you have some people they always discourage you and you always have negative attitude. Therefore, be careful whom you will be with. Okay. Measuring job satisfaction. Can you measure job satisfaction? Yes. There are some rating scales and questionnaires you can give it to people, and you can measure how satisfied or dissatisfied they are, such as job descriptive index, Minnesota satisfaction questionnaire, pay satisfaction questionnaire. And we have also critical incidents, also reviews. We judge employees by certain incidents. How did he deal with that incident? And we put it into his file, and we see the way he dealt with it so that we can evaluate him. Okay. Now, part or consequences of job dissatisfaction, something we call employee withdrawals. We have volunteer withdrawal and we have absenteeism. If you are not satisfied, you are encouraged to be more absent or sometime to withdraw. Therefore, this is again depending on the number of days you are present. Few days present, this is high absenteeism, versus many days present, which is low absenteeism. And we have initial measurement over the time, and 2 years later, they find out that people with job satisfaction decrease, absenteeism rose among workers who job satisfaction decrease over time. If your job satisfaction go down, you have job dissatisfaction decrease. Absenteeism decrease among workers who job satisfaction rose over time. Being absent, okay, decrease among workers who job satisfaction rose over time. This job satisfaction increase. A very interesting model. This for or study talks about employees withdrawal and volunteer withdrawal absenteeism. Okay, now consequences for job dissatisfaction, okay, and ways to reduce them. Employees withdrawal, voluntarily resign or voluntarily turnover and absenteeism to escape organizational condition. We also something called honeymoon. The honeymoon is enjoying high level of satisfaction on the new job. If you have a new job, the first, say, weeks or month, you are in honeymoon. And when that's over, you start getting the stress and the responsibility of that position. We also have something called hangover effect, which is satisfaction drop over time. As time goes, your satisfaction will go down. And we have the unfolding model of volunteer turnover. Unfolding model of volunteer turnover. And here, when you have a shock to the system, and shock comes usually if if there is merger and acquisition, bigger company will come, take over the old company, and that's a big shock. If the shock is a little similar company, almost the same culture, then here there is effect is no, okay, additional. You start thinking again additional thoughts, and this will take you to negative. either stay or not stay, or quit. Stay with the company or not stay with the company. If the shock to the system is big, then yes, decision frame. Decision frame is what companies done in the past. Okay? Then, if it is not alternative, you think of alternative job. If it is yes or no, you need additional thought. Again, you go to negative attitudes toward it, and you either stay or, which is not negative, or you quit negative. If the decision frame is there already, you know for sure that the company in the past will do the same thing, then you go again to negative, okay? Either negative feeling about it. If it's not negative, you will stay, and if it is negative, you will quit. And this is the unfolding model of the volunteer turnover, which is it's a cognitive process of people making decisions about quitting or staying at the job in a very, very simple terms. The shock to the system, as I said, like merging or acquisition, and decision frame, similar expected decision from the past. And we defined absenteeism as the practice of staying away from the job when scheduled at work. And we have what we call job performance are dissatisfied employees or poor performance. And research shows that happier workers are more productive. And job satisfaction and injuries, also the question is, are happy workers safe workers? And the research shows that there is a correlation between the injuries and the job satisfaction. Evidence suggests that enhancing job satisfaction has benefit effects on job safety. And we have high performance work system, which is organizational, offer employees opportunities to participate in decision making and provide incentives for them to do so, to develop their skills. Job satisfaction and life satisfaction, are they related? Yes, of course they are related. Yes, they are. Work, because work is part of your life. If you are satisfied with your work, you will be satisfied with your life in general. Therefore, high performance work will affect or increase the job satisfaction, and you reduce occupational injury. Job dissatisfaction consequences: weak relationship with task performance, reduce organizational citizenship behavior, increase occupational injuries, increase occupational injuries, and influence life outside work. Promoting job satisfaction, pay people fairly, improve the quality of supervision, match people to jobs that fit their interest, and decentralize organizational power. We have these models that shows organizational commitment. To what extent you are committed to your organization. And we have normative commitment, continuous commitment, and we have effective commitment. Normative commitment, continue working for an organization because you face pressure from others to remain. And Continuous commitment, continue working for an organization because you cannot afford to leave it. I'm desperate. I have to stay there. I have to tolerate everything, okay, that comes to me. Effective commitment, this is continue working for an organization because you agree with it and desire to remain there. This is what we call organizational commitment. In the Far East, China, Japan, Korea, it's their culture for you to stay with the company. If you work with Honda, Sony, or Hitachi, or Samsung, not only you work for the company, your sons, your grandson, the whole family, it's a heritage that you stay with that company, and it's just how much commitment they are. United States, on the other hand, if you don't find that much commitment. People committed are more to the pay they get. They move from one state to another, from company to another company, always if you have better pay. In Far East, it's totally different. Therefore, this is the model for organizational commitment. Organizational commitment is attitude toward companies. And organizational commitment is individual identified with and involved with his organization and or unwilling to leave it. We have variety of organization commitment. We have continuous commitment, which is the strength a person desire to continue working for the same organization and cannot afford to leave it. While normative commitment, as we also discussed, when you feel obligated from others to continue, and the effective commitment, this is you can see it very clearly in the Far East companies that when you regard organization positively and agree with its goals and values. Why strive? Why strive for an effectively workforce? Because effectively committed employees contribute to successful organizational performance. Effectively committed employees are likely or unlikely to withdraw. Effectively committed employees are willing to make sacrifices for the organization. How to promote this commitment? Through job enrichment, align the interest of the company with the employees, and sometimes they put incentive or gain sharing plans. By increasing plans gains, they give bonus and sometimes own shares. Again, committed workforce consequences, unlikely to withdraw, willing to make sacrifices for the organization, and organizational commitment develop, enrich job, align company to employees' interest, recruit and select new employees who value closely match organizational values. And by this, we will conclude our chapter for today or tonight. And as usual, I'm going to take you through my blackboard or whiteboard for that matter, and so that you will take a capture of that and take a note of it. This is what we discuss, that feelings, beliefs, behavior We'll go into the attitudes and attitudes is certain feeling about objects, person, and institutions. And there are three components of the attitudes, which is evaluative, our feeling, cognitive, our belief, and behavioral is predisposition, and this what make us think or feel about object, person, or institution. We talked about the prejudiced model, we defined it, and we talked about the stereotype that makes the prejudice and organizational democracy also, and this prejudice also will cause and caused by discrimination. And we talked about the two-factor theory for Heisenberg, that we have people satisfaction could be low and high, and not satisfaction could be low and high. I wish you a good evening, or good morning, or good afternoon, wherever you are, and I'll see you next class. Thank you.